We're going to get on with our agenda. There seems to be something wrong with the sound system, but I'll talk as loud as I can. My name is Sharon McIver. I'm going to be playing several roles here today. One will be co-chairing with Judy Rebick, and I want to welcome you all here for the Women's Constitutional Conference. The representation that we have here are women leaders from women's groups throughout the country, and I want to welcome each and every one of you. I will start off by introducing the leaders of our sponsoring groups. Judy Rebick from the National Action Committee on the Status of Women, and Gail Stacey Moore, who is the speaker from the Native Women's Association of Canada. And I'll call on Judy now for an opening remark.
Je vous souhaite une chaleureuse bienvenue. Il faut utiliser vos écouteurs, ils sont sur le côté de votre chaise. You have to use your écouteurs, your earpieces. They're on the edge of your chair. Le journée va passer entre les deux langues, français et anglais. Donc il faut, si vous n'êtes pas bilingue, il faut utiliser vos écouteurs. Ok, je vais commencer encore une fois. Je vous souhaite une chaleureuse bienvenue à toutes et tous, il y a quelques-uns. Les dirigeants du mouvement femmes de tous les pays. Nous sommes ici unifiés comme femmes. Nous avons une délégation importante des femmes du Québec. Il inclut la présidente de la Fédération des femmes du Québec, Céline Signori. Bienvenue. Également, nous avons une délégation importante des femmes francophones hors du Québec, qui sont aussi ici. Et les femmes des communautés culturelles, les femmes syndiquées. Les femmes sont ici de toutes parties du pays, Colombie-Britannique, Alberta, Manitoba, Nord d'Ontario, Sud d'Ontario, Québec, Nouvelle-Brunswick, Nouvelle-Écosse. Et malheureusement, je ne suis pas certain s'il y a quelqu'un ici de Terre-Neuve. Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un? Je crois. Ah oui, bienvenue. Et il faut dire qu'on n'a aucun financement pour cette conférence-là, aucun financement de voyage. Toutes les femmes qui sont ici ont payé leurs propres frais de voyage. Et c'est une tradition dans le mouvement femmes. Nous avons également ici des femmes qui ont organisé une conférence des femmes dans l'année 1991, quand le gouvernement également a essayé d'ignorer des femmes. Et on va parler de ça plus tard. We're here together as women, because as women, whether we're Aboriginal women, Québécoises, racial minority women, francophone women outside Quebec, lesbians, women with disabilities, or no matter what part of the country we live in, we have one thing in common at this moment. We have been excluded from this constitutional agreement. What women fought for, if you've been reading the media in the last 2 days, it said everybody won something and everybody lost something. But that's maybe true if you're talking about men. But if you're talking about Aboriginal women, they didn't win equality rights in this constitutional agreement. They didn't win from the government representation at the table, although they won the right from the courts, and Gail will talk to you about that in a minute. Women fought from the Calgary Conference for equal representation in the Senate. We didn't get gender equality in the Baudouin-Dobie. We got proportional representation, but it was a step forward. a system that would ensure the election of more women and more minorities. They dropped it on July 7th. Gee, they didn't even notice that it was dropped on July 7th until Alexa McDonough from Nova Scotia wrote them a letter to point it out. And I believe also Audrey McLaughlin. So they put it back in, but they adopted a system of proportional representation that's the least amenable to representation of women and minorities. And now they have dropped proportional representation and any mention of gender equality completely. Completely, there's not one word. And we'll talk more today about the problems in the Canada Clause, the problems concerning social programs. Everybody in this country is fed up with the constitutional discussion, and we are too. We're tired. We're discouraged, very discouraged, because we participated. We were asked to participate, and we participated in good faith. And our voices were heard by the people of this country. You know, there was a Angus Reid poll put out, only it was the last paragraph in The Citizen a while ago. And people were asked, whose opinion do you give weight to when it comes to constitutional issues? And the politician that had the most weight was Jean Chrétien. That is, in the rest of Canada, he had not very high ratings in Quebec. He had 47%. And on that list was the National Action Committee on the Status of Women. And when the question was answered, whose opinion to give weight to, 76% of people in Quebec and 57% of people in the rest of the country said they give weight to the opinions of the National Action Committee on the Status of Women. So the people of Canada care about the opinions of women, but it seems that the politicians don't. And what we're here to do is to discuss how to change that. We cannot accept, in 1992, a constitutional package which ignores the concerns of 52% of the population. We're here to tell the politicians that, and we're here to figure out what means and what strategies we have to use to make sure that the constitutional package is changed, because it's not over yet, and that this will never, never happen again. Thank you.
I'd now like to introduce Gail Stacey Moore, who is the Speaker for the Native Women's Association of Canada.
Okay, I as well would like to thank everyone for coming to this meeting today. I'm glad to see. Okay, it is on.
It's not, you have to talk loud, otherwise
all right. Okay. Well, I'm just going to stand from here. Maybe that would be better.
Doesn't go.
Okay. Today I have written to Joe Clark to say, as Speaker of the Native Women's Association of Canada, I am asking the Government of Canada, through you, Mr. Clark, to extend an invitation to Aboriginal women through NWAC to be at any First Ministers' Conference to be convened possibly in Charlottetown, PEI this week. I am also asking you to provide equitable funding to NWAC for continuation of the constitutional renewal process in light of the public consultative phase you are now entering. I believe it is clear that the Federal Court of Appeal has completely rejected your government's approach to excluding Aboriginal women and NWAC from the current constitutional talks. Your government has been found to be in violation of the freedom of expression rights of Aboriginal women individually and collectively as represented by NWAC. With reference to your letter addressed to NWAC of July 28, 1992, I believe the Federal Court of Appeal has found it unacceptable for your government to require NWAC to participate through and receive funding through the Native Council of Canada and the Assembly of First Nations. In your July 28, 1992 letter, you said to us, noting again your request for direct participation in multilateral constitutional discussions and additional funding, I encourage you to work with the Native Council of Canada and the Assembly of First Nations as we enter into the next phase of the process. Once the requirements of the next phase are better understood, the question of funding will be addressed. Funding for Aboriginal women's associations will continue to be channeled through the 4 national associations. Unfortunately, no additional project monies are available at this time. Mr. Clark, you are aware that the April 1992 allotment of funds intended for dispersion to NWAC from the Native Council of Canada was not transferred to us until August 21st, 5 months later, which was in fact last week, after we've spent many months tracing them down, just trying to get them to answer our phone call, running after them, trying to get into the Pearson building so we can try to get some funding, just 5 months late. This severely hampered NWAC's ability to participate even minimally in the constitutional talks. While designating less than 5% of the constitutional funding to Aboriginal women, you have also refused to fund specific constitutional projects proposed by the NWAC. This includes our request to continue our charter education project among Aboriginal women and to have our community discussions on our draft Aboriginal charter position paper. Freedom of speech is recognized as a cornerstone of democratic government, and that right has been found by Canadian court to have been denied to Aboriginal women and NWAC in this current constitutional round. This has been decided the 20th of August 1992 by the Federal Court of Appeal in NWAC versus Her Majesty. Discussions with our counsel, Mary Eberts of Toronto, lead us to believe that this court decision is the only one of its kind in the world because it recognizes freedom of political expression for women. This is the first time a Canadian court has ruled on the right of women to freedom of speech in a political process. It has recognized that this right has been infringed by Canada. NWAC is fighting for our women, and what we gain will benefit all women. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Gail. We will